The Mexican-American War from 1846 to 1848 was a pivotal moment in North American history. It redrew the borders of two nations and ignited fierce passions on both sides. Amid this maelstrom, the San Patricio Battalion emerged, a unit of mostly Irish Catholic soldiers who deserted the U.S. Army to fight for Mexico. The battalion also included escaped slaves and freemen from southern states, as well as many other foreign-born defectors. The U.S. militia faced some of the highest number of desertions during this two-year war. At this time, almost half the U.S. Army was of foreign birth. Over 2,800 of the 31,000 total regular army deserted their post through 1848. And of the 59,000 volunteers who served, 3,900 left by desertion. But these men were not just cowards. They fought fiercely, earning respect from their Mexican comrades and grudging admiration from former American counterparts. Still, their defiance came at a steep price. The San Patricios' defection offers a unique window into the realities of war and the social and political currents of the time. For many Irish immigrants, fleeing the devastating potato famine of the 1840s, America promised a haven from starvation and oppression. Instead, they found themselves facing a new set of hardships. Discrimination was rampant, fueled by anti-Catholic sentiment and the perception of the Irish as taking jobs from native-born Americans. Forced into squalid living conditions and relegated to the lowest rungs of society, many Irish immigrants found themselves with few options. The U.S. Army, desperate for manpower in its war against Mexico, offered a steady paycheck and the promise of citizenship. For many desperate Irishmen, it seemed like the only viable option, despite the inherent risks. However, life in the U.S. Army proved to be a bitter disappointment. The Irish soldiers faced prejudice and mistreatment at the hands of their Protestant officers, who often viewed them with suspicion and contempt. This blatant discrimination, coupled with the growing realization that they were fighting to expand a nation that treated them as second-class citizens, sowed the seeds of discontent among the Irish ranks. As the war raged on, many of the new soldiers were increasingly troubled by the U.S. Army's conduct. They witnessed firsthand the brutality inflicted upon the Mexican people, many of whom were fellow Catholics to the Irish. The wanton destruction of property and mistreatment of civilians deeply disturbed these men. The Texans had an especially awful reputation for raping women and burning villages to the ground. Lieutenant Ulysses S. Grant wrote his wife just after taking part in Taylor's occupations of Matamoros and Monterrey. Many of the volunteers and about all the Texans seemed to think it perfectly fine to do whatever they wished to a conquered city, including murdering civilians. The turning point for the Irish soldiers came during the U.S. Army's occupation of northern Mexico near the Rio Grande. They saw the poverty and suffering of the Mexican people. They began to identify more with the Mexicans, not viewing them as a threat and recognizing them as fellow victims of oppression. This, combined with several enticements such as promises from the Mexican army for higher rank and pay, as well as love interests across the border, made it difficult to endure the harsh conditions of the environment and the mistreatment from higher-ranking officers. The decision to desert was not taken lightly, however. The U.S. Army was known for its harsh punishment. There were orders from some officers to shoot deserters on sight, and in some situations servicemen were whipped, tortured, and forced to watch the execution of their peers as a deterrent. This act of defiance would present a multitude of life-threatening challenges. The San Patricios, named after the patron saint of Ireland, quickly earned a reputation for their bravery and military prowess. They were skilled artillerymen, their experience handling cannons in the U.S. Army proving invaluable to the Mexican forces. They fought with a ferocity born from desperation and a burning desire to prove their loyalty to their adopted country. One of their most celebrated stands took place at the Battle of Churubusco in August 1847. Outnumbered and outgunned, the San Patricios, alongside their Mexican comrades, held their ground against wave after wave of U.S. attacks. Their artillery fire was particularly devastating, inflicting heavy casualties on the advancing American forces. Though the Mexicans ultimately lost the battle, the San Patricios' bravery did not go unnoticed. General Santa Anna, the Mexican commander, praised their courage and tenacity, calling them the bravest of the brave. Despite their courage, the San Patricios faced an uphill battle. The Mexican army was poorly equipped and outmatched by the superior firepower and logistics of the U.S. forces. Yet they continued to fight with unwavering determination, their green flag with its harp and shamrock emblem becoming a symbol of hope and resistance for the Mexican people. The tide of the war turned decisively against Mexico with the fall of Mexico City in September 1847. The San Patricios, now facing certain defeat, made their final stand at the Battle of Churubusco. They fought with a ferocity and determination that proved their disdain for their previous commanding officers, targeting the U.S. officers as to settle an old grudge. However, their valiant efforts were in vain. Outnumbered and outgunned, the San Patricios eventually ran out of options. When a Mexican officer raised a white flag, Officer Patrick Dalton tore the flag down, telling the men to fight with their bare hands. It was put up twice more by the Mexican army. The third time, 2 men were shot for trying to surrender. St. Patrick's Battalion had every intention of fighting to the death. For these men, the war was over, but their ordeal was far from finished. The United States Army, viewing the San Patricios as traitors, meted out harsh punishments. Those captured at Churubusco were imprisoned and subjected to brutal treatment. The United States military court-martialed 72 of the captured San Patricios on charges of desertion and treason, 50 of whom were sentenced to death by hanging. On September 13, 1847, as the United States flag rose over Mexico City, the San Patricios were marched to the gallows. Their hands bound, their heads shaved, they faced their executioners with defiance and despair. Some prayed, some cursed, while others sang Irish folk songs, their voices echoing across the battlefield. General Winfield Scott chose the date and location of the executions with chilling precision. The men were hanged in full view of the advancing United States Army, a brutal spectacle. As the hangman prepared the nooses, the condemned men were ordered to look towards the advancing United States Army. In defiance, many of the San Patricios turned their backs on the United States flag and faced the setting sun. The execution of the San Patricios sent shockwaves through Mexico and the United States. While the U.S. government saw it as just punishment, many condemned it as a barbaric act of vengeance. In the aftermath of the war, the San Patricios were largely forgotten in the United States. Their story, considered an embarrassment by the United States government, was largely erased from official accounts of the Mexican-American War. Their sacrifice, seen as an act of betrayal, was met with silence and condemnation. However, in Mexico, the San Patricios were hailed as heroes. Their story, passed down through generations, became a potent symbol of Mexican resistance against foreign aggression. They were remembered as men who sacrificed everything for the love of their adopted country, their bravery and sacrifice forever etched in the annals of Mexican history. To this day, the San Patricios are honored in Mexico with statues, plaques, and annual commemorations. Their story is taught in schools. Their sacrifices remembered as a testament to the enduring bonds of friendship and solidarity between Mexico and Ireland. In recent decades, there has been a growing movement in the United States to acknowledge and commemorate the San Patricios. Historians and activists have worked tirelessly to bring their story to light, challenging the traditional narrative of the Mexican-American War and prompting a reassessment of their legacy. This renewed interest has led to the erection of memorials and the organization of commemorative events in the United States, honoring the San Patricios as men of conscience who stood up for their beliefs even at the cost of their lives. Their story has become a touchstone for discussions on immigration, discrimination, and the moral dilemmas of war. The story of the San Patricios also serves as a bridge between Mexico and Ireland, two nations linked by a shared history of struggle and resilience. Their sacrifice has fostered a unique bond of friendship and solidarity between the two countries, transcending geographical boundaries and historical differences. Each year on September 12th, the anniversary of their execution, commemorative ceremonies are held in both Mexico and Ireland, honoring the memory of the San Patricios and celebrating their enduring legacy. The story of the San Patricio Battalion is a poignant reminder of the complexities of history and the often overlooked human stories that shape our understanding of the past. These men, driven by a potent mixture of religious conviction, social justice, and the desire for a better life, challenged the established order and paid the ultimate price for their beliefs. Their legacy continues to resonate today, prompting us to confront uncomfortable truths about our past and to examine the enduring legacies of prejudice and discrimination. Their story reminds us that history is not merely a collection of dates and battles, but a tapestry woven from the lives and experiences of ordinary people caught in extraordinary circumstances. The San Patricios' unwavering courage in the face of adversity speaks volumes about the indomitable spirit of these men. They were willing to risk everything for a chance at a better life, for themselves and for the people they had come to call their own. Their story is a testament to the power of the human spirit to transcend boundaries of nationality, religion, and ethnicity. The San Patricios, though long gone, continue to inspire us with their courage, their sacrifice, and their unwavering belief in a better tomorrow.